To face hypocritical prince exposed, Harry's mama has come back to bite him. He has been doing a whole lot of soul-bearing of late, but an unearthed report from 20 years ago suggests he left a few things out. Hello and a very warm welcome to LVT News YouTube channel. Back in 2020, Meghan Markle took a little break from her California life of doing yoga and burning all of her royal required nude hose to reveal that her husband, Prince Harry, is actually a feminist. And the chat that she had with US feminist Gloria Steinem. Meghan talked about Harry meeting the iconic activist, during which he informed her that it was important that she realized that he was a feminist too. Well, and since then Harry has just dug his heels in on the issue. Meghan revealed that he had a guttural reaction to the Supreme Court's overturning of Roe v. Wade, and he decided to wear a t-shirt emblazoned with "Girl Dad" for a video about a green travel initiative. But there's a 20-year-old report that has come out, one which details a series of surprising incidents that run counter to this Harry of 2023, this feminist woke guy, incidents that somehow also were forgotten in Harry's recent memoir, Spare. We all know the story of Harry before Meghan entered his life, how he went from this haunted little boy who had to walk behind his mother's coffin to the party prince in his early 20s, to the beautiful soldier who took on the Taliban, and then to the mastermind behind the Invictus Games. Sure, he wasn't perfect. Harry made a few mistakes in his time, but mostly people seem to agree that he was a good guy. But is that really the full story? Well, let's go back. It's around the turn of the millennia. Flip phones are very fashionable. Britney Spears is dating Justin Timberlake. Harry is a teenager and he's on vacation in Cornwall. Cornwall is a beachside town in the UK that is pretty popular with a polo playing set. So what exactly is a teenage boy supposed to do with himself all day? Maybe he can sneak a cheeky cigarette out a window. Maybe he can try explaining the plot of The Phantom Menace to Prince Philip. Well, no, not Harry. He decided to allegedly throw bottles and drunkenly abuse teenage girls. And actually, that was a claim that was brought up 2 years later by the Daily Mail back in 2002, and that was around the time that Harry's partying ways had burst right out into the open. One girl spoke with the Mail saying Harry was sitting on a wall outside a pub in between throwing cider bottles. He was vomiting behind the wall. He is one of the most revolting people I've ever met, who sounds like a real Prince Charming. Now, supposedly when one teenage boy put his arm around a girl from Harry's group, he decided to hit the boy. According to the Mail, Harry said, "Get your hands off, she's mine. She'll do what I say." And then another teen's mother described Harry's attitude to girls as intolerable. And that's not all. That same report from the Mail revealed a series of other very disturbing incidents. Let's look at the story about Harry at a shooting weekend that was hosted by the former Duke of Westminster. They had to get away that I don't think I would enjoy, but I think lots of other people probably could. So let's just assume that Eton Hall was filled with boys like Harry, boys with impressive pedigrees and who have never been asked to lift a finger in their entire lives. Well, according to that Mail report, Harry got so drunk that he threw up all over a bar. An eyewitness who was there reported that Harry was legless and speechless. The catering staff were appalled because they were left to clear up the vomit. Now, just in case the indignity of working for minimum wage in the house of Britain's richest aristocrat wasn't enough, I guess that made it a pretty difficult job. While it's not clear whether or not Prince William was at the party, he was reported to be livid with Harry viewing him as a bloody liability, and there are a few other bits that are interesting. Harry was actually banned from his local drinking hole, the Rattlebone Inn, and he called the French under-manager an effing frog, suggesting that maybe Harry did pay attention sometimes in history class. We also need to consider Harry's protection officers. According to the Mail, they had to deal with an often abusive prince. Now, knowing what we know now, these stories take on a whole new light. He was a boy dealing with some horrible trauma, and obviously he was in a lot of pain. But see, here is the difficult part. Does that mean that we should just forgive? Harry does his own suffering represent some type of get-out-of-jail-free card when it comes to his former bad behavior in recent months? We have watched Harry try to force his family to take responsibility for their alleged mistakes. But is he ready to do the same? In his interviews and most recently in his paper, If You Sit Down with Dr. Gabor Mate, Harry was willing to dig into his suffering, but only the parts where we're going to view him as the deeply wounded little boy and man that he was and probably some are going to argue still is. But when it comes to taking accountability for his own poor choices, Harry has shown a tendency to skirt around the issue in his telling it was William and Catherine who encouraged him to wear that Nazi uniform to a costume party, and then there was that video that came out in 2009 of him using a racial slur to talk to a fellow Sanders cadet. But Harry pleaded ignorance and he whined the palace would not allow him to put out a statement. Harry wrote that he cared about not being a racist, but did he actually do anything about it? It would be 7 years before Harry finally got around to fixing his unconscious bias thanks to Meghan's arrival in his life, and then there's the story that he told in Spare about a house mistress at his prep school, Ludgrove. Now she was called Pat and she sounds like not a very nice sort, but still the way he writes about her doesn't exactly fit with his newfound feminist level. Harry says unlike the other matrons, Pat wasn't hot, Pat was cold, Pat was small, mousy, frozen, and her hair fell greasy into her always tired eyes, and Harry also talked bad about her knees and her spine. Even he said the latter was crooked, the former chronically stiff. Walking was hard, stairs were torture. She descended backwards glacially. And according to Harry, he was the most enthusiastic in making faces of the poor woman, but does Harry actually express any feelings of shame for the way that he made fun of her? Now there's a certain self-recrimination in his tone, but he doesn't actually outright say that. The point here is I'm not trying to condemn Harry for goofy things that he did a long time ago, because there is no one in this world who has not, but I'm talking about the selectiveness of Harry's atonement, his soul-bearing. See after Spare and after all the revelations about William, a friend of the royal family, told the Sunday Times there's so much stuff over the years that Harry has rung friends up about and said, throw away that photo, promise you won't speak about this. You could have an epic field day with a shit on Harry. This family friend went on to say so could William, who in comparison is as clean as a whistle. I can't believe he'd stoop so low. It's outrageously just loyal. And another friend spoke with the Times Royal Nika saying Harry is good at getting his narrative out there, but we know so much, we've cleaned up so many messes over the years. There is so much we could say. Now, obviously, Harry wants his family to fully accept and to publicly acknowledge their mistakes. But has he really done the same thing himself? For example, where is that apology to poor Pat? I mean, at least I can leave you with a pretty interesting image. One of those 2002 stories from the Daily Mail also revealed what Harry was doing during King Charles's big 50th birthday party back in 1908. Mostly he was getting pissed drunk. He was stripping and he was running around the guests. Just imagine the reaction from all those buttoned-up aristocratic types as they feast their eyes on Harry's set of crown jewels. I would guess it's something that